Now, wa is a particle that I explained earlier, and ga is a new particle, but wa and ga act very similar to each other. I told you that wa was this that marks the subject of the sentence, and that is kind of true. In some cases, if you translated it into English, it would mark the subject of the sentence. So wa does mark the subject if you translate it in English in some sentences. But to be more technical and to be more accurate, wa is the topic marker. It's the topic marker. And I'll explain what that is. And actually, ga is the subject marker. So we have ga as the subject marker and wa as the topic marker. Okay, so how ga and wa work, the topic and the subject, is ga acts a little bit more like a second subject marker, and then wa acts as more like a first subject marker. So it's kind of like wa starts off a topic. If you say watashi wa, then I is going to be the topic of discussion. Many times in Japanese, they don't continue to refer in watashi wa and keep saying watashi wa over and over again. They just imply that you're referring to yourself. So you keep going along in the discussion. You don't have to use watashi wa or even use wa in a sentence at all. You can just start using different types of grammar and just start talking. And they'll know that you're referring to yourself, I, because you set wa as the topic. When you want to talk about yourself but mention another subject in the topic, then you'll be using ga. So in that way, it works as the second subject marker. So if you're still talking about the topic I, and you want to make another sentence that has a subject in it, then you'd use ga. So if a new topic is made, they'll be using wa again, because it marks the topic of the discussion. Like I said, many times they just imply wa, and so you don't really have to say watashi wa or watashi tachi wa. If everyone knows in the conversation if it's what you're talking about, you don't have to mention it over and over again. You can just say like mise ni ikimashou and imply everyone, let's go to the store. It's kind of difficult to understand when and where you use wa and ga, but as you continue to learn Japanese, you'll maybe understand a little bit more in each sentence how to use wa and ga. So as we continue in the podcast, I'll be explaining this a little bit more as we go. So just know that what wa and ga really are. And I said wa was subject before, but that's true because if you translated it in English, it would be considered a subject in many ways. But technically in Japanese, it's the topic. Now, one example of using ga that I'm going to teach you right now is, okay, number one, dare ga sensei desu ka? Dare ga sensei desu ka? Okay, so I'm saying in the sentence, who is the teacher? Who is the teacher? Because you don't know who is the teacher, you cannot say dare wa sensei desu ka. That's incorrect, actually. Because the topic has to be known to everyone. The topic needs to be known by everyone. So you say dare ga sensei desu ka. The ga can also be used to introduce new information into a sentence. So in other words, it's acting as the second subject of the sentence. Okay, bunka lesson, hajimemashou! Okay, today's culture lesson is about Nihon no tabemono. So lots of people think that all Japanese people eat is rice and fish, and that's completely not true. Oh, there's a ton of food that I had no idea about at all, and their food is really good. So I'm gonna talk a little about some of my favorite foods. And okay, well, first off, rice is definitely the staple food of Japan, and you probably would eat rice every day. The thing is that their rice kicks the trash out of ours, and it's small grained rice, and they have really good rice cookers, which makes the rice slightly sticky and a bit chewy, but it's kind of hard to describe, but the rice is really good. Okay, one food that's really good that I like a lot is kare, and we call it curry in America. Curry is really popular in Japan, and they eat it within lots of different varieties. They have this restaurant, it's called Coco's Curry House, and it's really popular among lots of people, and you should definitely check it out. Curry is actually from India, and it's usually made with meat and vegetables, and the curry ranges in spice levels and flavors, and curry is kind of similar. You can think of it kind of similar to stew in America, but it's a lot more spicier. Lots of Japanese food comes from China. With ramen, their instant ramen is way better than the American instant ramen. They have different flavors too that they like. Their main flavors of instant ramen are salt, soy sauce, and miso ramen. In America, we have a lot of chicken ramen, but they don't even have that in Japan at all. In convenience stores such as 7-Eleven and those kind of little stores around Japan, I'll talk about convenience stores a different day because they're really interesting. But they have these instant ramen bowls that are like kind of like cup of noodle, but it's actual like bowl, and it'll have like a ton of different types of vegetables. The ramen shops are really good. The fresh vegetables, everything, freshly made noodles. It's really good. Of course, lots of people know about Japanese sushi. Lots of times when we say sushi in America, we think just raw fish, but it's not just raw fish. Sushi is actually dealing with how they culture the rice by putting sweet vinegar and types of sugar on the rice, and also using the seaweed. And there's lots of different types of sushi. What's really cool is they have 100-yen sushi bars, which are these places where you can get sushi for $1, plates of sushi for $1, and it's like you go into the restaurant and they have this big conveyor belt going around all the tables, and you just take whatever sushi plate you want and you pay for it at the end. Another thing that's really, really good is tonkatsu. Tonkatsu is like a breaded pork, and they also use chicken too, but usually you have tonkatsu with a tonkatsu sauce, which is really this like sweet brown sauce, and it's served with like shredded cabbage. I went around and I asked some Japanese people what they ate a lot, and lots of Japanese people said that like for breakfast they would have rice with miso or natto. Miso is a soup, and they eat miso or drink miso a lot. It's made from soybean, and it's like a brown, really kind of light drink. They put like tofu and chopped onions in it lots of times. Now natto is kind of interesting. It's fermented soybeans, and it's really like comes in these little foam containers, and it's got really sticky, slimy stuff on it. And I actually had natto a lot, and I started liking it. It was okay. It's actually supposed to be really healthy for you, and lots of Japanese people eat that for breakfast. I have tempura, which is breaded meat. They use chicken and pork a lot. Another thing they eat for lunch a lot is onigiri, which is a little rice ball, rice dumpling wrapped in seaweed. It's a little bit different from sushi because the rice isn't cultured. I would get a lot of onigiri that were like shaped as a triangle with like tuna fish in them. They're just really good. Anyways, Japan has lots of different types of food that are just really good, but I can't mention them all here, so you're gonna have to go out and experience them. But anyways, 日本の食べ物は美味しいですよ。本当に美味しいです。It's really good food. So, it's always good to look forward to good food if you ever go to Japan. Alright, well that's lesson 4 of Japanese wisdom. This is Waizu Sensei. Please visit the website and email me with any questions you have. waizusensei@hotmail.com. See you next time. Ja ne.
Darth Metamorphosis!